entertain a motion. Motion made. Second? Second. Discussion.
I might just say this, Mayor. The board may or may not be aware that it takes a 2/3 vote of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to approve any changes to the private act. So there's going to have to be pretty much of a consensus among the board members if we're to take anything back to the legislature. So whatever this commission comes up with, my recommendation is they report to the Board of Aldermen sometime at the December meeting of this year, and so that would give us an opportunity to draft whatever changes we would present to the legislature in January. And then, assuming that there is general consensus among the changes that we make, we need a 2/3 vote at that meeting even to move forward with it, because there's no sense taking it to the legislature unless we've got the 2/3 vote to take it to the legislature. And it's pretty much automatic if the Board of Mayor and Aldermen in Millington wants the changes done, then the legislature will pretty much approve it as an amendment to the private act. But you'd have to come back and reapprove it once they pass the changes to the private act.
Well, I'll go ahead and start the discussion, because I think Mr. Christie made an insinuation that I was against the city manager. I have not said I'm against the city manager form of government. I said I was against the way it was implemented. People should have had a choice in the beginning to make a decision if they're going to change the form of government. That didn't happen. And that was my only regret in the whole thing. I asked until after the mayor was in position before they started the search. They didn't want to do that either. They want to have somebody in place. This charter has been in effect since May 5th of 2012. And they waited until the dead end of it to try and hurry up and rush this through. So that's my only consensus. It's not who's here or how we got it, it's how we got here.
I would suggest that the form of government not be included in what is being looked at, but the errors and omissions that the charter has in it, that we found some of them in the course of doing our business. But I would like to have it understood that the form of government that we have now is not part of what the commission is to be looking at.
So why do you want this commission to be limited in what they can look at?
Because I don't believe that that's in the benefit or to the benefit of the city to change the charter, the form of government.
Well, that's the reason I think it's up for people to decide that, not for us. That's what happened before.
That's right.
No, that's not what happened before. What happened before was the board voted unanimously to go to Nashville and presented a different form of government, and that was part of what they were elected to do. And they didn't break the law when they did that, did they?
No.
Okay, so how is it that this is now a violation of the people's right?
Mr. Perkins, no matter what we do here, this doesn't go to a vote of the citizens because it's a private act charter, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so whether we like how we got here before or not, or whether the people voted or not, that doesn't change in this at all because it's a private act, correct?
That's correct. I mean, there are a number of charters in cities in Tennessee. I mean, you can have mayor aldermanic form of government, you can have a city manager form of government, you can have a modified city manager form of government. There are state charters that you could adopt that are already part of the code. But many cities have private act charters, and I mean, you've got a number of them in Shelby County. Collierville is a good example. Germantown is a good example. I mean, so there are numbers of other cities that have private act charters. So there are some inconsistencies in the charter that should be changed, if you keep the same form of government, there's and there are certain things that need to be changed, but it takes 2/3 of this board to move this thing out of Millington to the state legislature, so whatever, and I've told the mayor, and I'll tell you, I think you ought to have at least a couple of aldermen on this committee, because you're gonna have to come back to the board of mayor and aldermen and get this thing approved, so it's gonna take 2/3 of you, which is, I don't know, I'll ask the mathematicians, tell me what that number is, 5, I guess 5 or 6. So you gotta have 5 to do that, so, it's gonna take most of you to approve it. And it would be better if you all approved it, quite frankly, so, whatever the changes are.
But the steps to this is just for the citizens to be able to have an input into the changes.
I would recommend the charter commission have public hearings and listen to everyone who, you know, has an interest in the town to come forward and make as many recommendations as they want to make.
Well, and I think it's important, no matter what form of government we have, we've got much larger issues we need to be dealing with. So, other than the inconsistencies in this, I think we need to be focusing our efforts. I certainly think it's worthy to make those changes that we need to be consistent, as you and Mr. Christie and the mayor have pointed out. But I think we have a lot larger issues we need to be addressing, as opposed to looking at changing our form of government again.
You have lots of opportunities, Alderman.
And like I said, this board was going to recommend that. I mean, that's
I know.
the point.
So how are you going to appoint the members? What was your intent?
Well, the intent was, Mr. Perkins was to have at least 2 aldermen on the committee, and then have each alderman make recommendations for the committee, and then we can even put it on the website and have people apply, like we've done for other boards.
I think it'd be good to get some, put it on the website, let people see if they're interested or not. And then have 2 aldermen on it. I think you need to do that.
I think that's a good idea.
So we're basically just going to have kind of a sign-up sheet, so you all be interested in serving on that
It
commission.
would be board approval.
So all this resolution's doing is allowing for a commission, and then there'll be a process to make the appointments at a future board meeting.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawkins?
Aye.
Mr. Dakin?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
All right.
Mr. Ford? Mr. Carruthers?
Aye.
Ms. Upton?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item on the agenda, resolution